Let's move on to the next gambit type, which is Q&A gambits. These gambits use AI. Q&A stands for question and answer. I'm sure you've guessed it already, but this gambit type is the best at answering questions from any source of knowledge. Before we get into the details of what a knowledge base is and how to add it, let me show you how to make your Q&A gambit work. We'll begin by clicking the Add a Gambit button. In the Gambit type drop-down menu, we'll select AI-Q&A Prime. You'll notice how the model changes and looks different from the basic gambits. As always, name your gambit without using capitalization and using underscores. I like to suffix all my AI gambits with _AI. So I'm going to call this Q&A AI. Since this gambit uses AI, one of the ways to control how it functions is by changing the base prompt. We'll cover how prompting works in some of our next videos. Let's head into the default messages section. You can see that this is already populated with some messages. One thing to note about the Q&A gambit is that since it works on AI, the user needs to write a message first to trigger the AI. This is where the default messages here become useful. They'll show up exactly as you write them, just like the basic gambit messages. When the user responds to the default message, that's when the AI gets triggered and generates a response. The welcome message is the message that will show up immediately as soon as the user enters this gambit as the conversation flows. I'll show you in a second. The recurring message is a message that comes when the gambit is executed. When you connect a Q&A gambit back to itself, then multiple steps in the conversation happen within the same gambit. And I'll illustrate this with a very simple example. We are going to make a simple single gambit agent that generates sentences when the user gives the agent a word. However, you will be able to see how welcome and recurring messages show up to add some structure to the conversation. First, we'll edit the base prompt. In the base prompt, I have written that the user will provide a word. You have to give 2 sentences to the user using the given word. And I'll save this prompt and head into the default messages section. Let's begin by editing the welcome message. The welcome message is, "Hello and welcome. I am a sentence creator and I will make sentences on any word that you give me. So would you like to give me a word?" And in the recurring message, I'm going to write, "What's another word?" Now we just save these changes and connect the gambit back to itself. I'll hit publish and hit the button next to it to view my agent in a new tab. As soon as I land on the link, the welcome messages appear. I'll give the agent a random word. Now the AI worked in the backend to follow the instructions written in the prompt and provided the sentence as expected. But now you can see the recurring message that comes under the AI generated message. While I could also have instructed the agent in the prompt to ask the user for another word, which would then come in the same message bubble and not in a new one, this is an alternative when you want to add some structure to the conversation. Now that we've seen how a Q&A gambit works, let's go back into the builder and see how we can train the AI using a knowledge base. So, what is a knowledge base and how can you add it to your agent? A knowledge base is a centralized collection of information that your agent can reference to answer user queries or questions effectively. This can include FAQs, documents, website data, and more. By integrating a KB, your agent becomes more intelligent and is capable of handling a much wider range of questions. The simplest business use case of a knowledge base is to train your agent on your company's website. So let's try that with the Hello Tars website. I'll head over to the main dashboard by clicking the TARS logo on the top left. And here I'll go into TARS Prime. I'm going to add a new knowledge base by selecting this button, and I'll give it a name. After clicking create, this has created a new card for my knowledge base. A couple of things to note here. The date on which the knowledge base was created is noted here. You can see the number of resources it is trained on, which is currently 0, and you can see that it is not trained. In the 3-dot menu on the top right, we have options to duplicate or remove a knowledge base. So let's go in. I'll click this add a resource button and I'll name it TARS website. I'll insert the link of the Hello TARS website here. Click save. And now click the start training button. This might take a few minutes. Now that the training is complete, we can head back into the agent and add this knowledge base into our agent. Here we'll go back into the Q&A Gambit and scroll down to the Select Knowledge Bases section. In the drop-down menu, any knowledge bases that you have added will be available as options. You can select one or multiple knowledge bases for your agent. Additionally, you can use the same knowledge base for multiple agents. So now I'm going to click Done, and we'll also edit the base prompt and the default messages. For the prompt, let's keep it very simple. I've told the agent what its role is and that it is representing TARS. It has to provide clear and concise and informative answers about the company's products, service, and offerings. And then I've given it a few guidelines on how to answer, such as keep your messages short and include clickable links to specific pages. In one of our next videos, we are going to cover prompting, so we won't go into too much detail with this prompt. Now I'll save this and let's go into the default messages. I'm going to change this to hello, I'm an AI agent representing TARS, how can I help you? And in the recurring message, I'm going to write, hope this helps. If you have another question, let me know. Now I'll click save. And this Gambit is already looped back to itself, so I don't have to do that again. Once again, when we loop the Gambit, then the same Gambit keeps on getting executed. So this is what it looks like in the back end, but in the front end, it appears to be a smoothly flowing conversation. You will see this in action in a minute. So let's test this agent by seeing how it answers questions about TARS by referring to the information provided in its knowledge base. Great, it's giving the welcome messages exactly as written. So let me ask this agent, what are TARS's key offerings? Great, the agent responded. It's pulling information about TARS from its knowledge base, which is the TARS website, and answered the question asked by me, the user. And it's encouraging me to keep the conversation going with the recurring message that shows up right after the agent's message. Let me ask it one more question. Great, and once again I've got a nice, easy to read answer, and this answer is coming directly from the AI itself based on the instructions that we gave in the prompt. We should keep in mind that this is information from the live TARS website in real time. What I mean is that if someone was going to change something on the TARS website right now and publish those changes, the agent wouldn't know what was changed. It has documented only how the website was at the time it was trained, and if I want to update this knowledge base to a newer version of the website, I will have to retrain the knowledge base. That's why updating the knowledge base is really important. This is the simplest You can move this scale to choose how much of the audio conversation should be remembered. Then we move on to the settings tool. There are two values you can change here: the maximum response length and the temperature. The maximum response length is pretty self explanatory. It's basically to set a limit on how long an agent's answer should be. For example, if you want it to sound completely dead, let's say for 2 hours, then it will also show you to reduce the maximum response length. The temperature is the second value you can change here. Let's assume the temperature is 10 outside and you want it to be freezing. Then you can choose a value from here that simplifies the agent answer automatically. The agent can then explain the full picture and use AI to calculate the temperatures. So as we discussed, the temperature is the value that is usually used to calculate the agent's answer. Then you can also choose the temperature and let's say the agent wants it to be freezing again. Then you can state the temperature as freezing and the maximum response length as 2 hours. Then you can also choose the value that is temperature and use that value to calculate the agent's answer. Then you can choose the value from here that shows the option at the end of each message so the user can rate their experience. Here's what these buttons look like in the front end. The next section is the default messages section, which we have covered earlier. And this last section called evaluation is a helpful tool that works with a specific gambit type called AI intent detection gambits. So we'll skip it for now and talk about this more when we learn about the intent detection gambits. In the next video, we are going to cover AI gambits and tool gambits.